Can you can you feel me? Can you feel me?
like you said, a human being, and I'm going to make you take that chance.
Certainly. Why, I wouldn't let her stay.
You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put them in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put them in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea.
Listen, watch out.
You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put 'em in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea.
Buy music on every major streaming platform. Coding. You want to get better at it. Let's talk. Before we start, Future Sam here with a big announcement. I'm super excited to announce that I've released a ton of original lo-fi music on every major streaming platform. They're called Code Jams. They're gonna be on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you name it. We have more songs coming on the way. I'll go ahead and leave links to everything in the description, or you could just, all right, back to the video. When you first start learning how to program, your brain picks up the info like a sponge. You really improve by leaps and bounds, and honestly, that's how it is at first with any skill you learn. Your biggest improvements are at the beginning, and then it kind of starts to diminish the longer you do it, the better you get at it. And at that point, unless you're trying to actively get better, you kind of get complacent and you don't improve at all. Your skills might even start to fade. Coding is one of those things where if you don't use it, you lose it.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
Is that a serious question?
No, it wasn't.
If I stop coding in a certain programming language for like a month and then I come back to it, I've probably forgotten most of it. So I'm gonna give you guys the 10 things that have helped me improve as a software developer. And a lot of these things I didn't even do with the intention of improving. It's kind of like looking back at it, these are the things that help me improve the most. Before we get into this, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, make sure you guys join my Discord channel if you want to talk more about tech and just whatever, really. There's a link to that in the description. All right, so let's get into it. These are in no particular order, but let's start with number one, which is reviewing other people's code. So if you're working as a software developer, this is going to be pretty easy to do because most likely, and hopefully, if you are writing code, you're gonna have it be reviewed before it gets merged into the final code base. So it's pretty easy to understand your own code because you're the one who wrote it. But everyone has a different style of coding. People might use a different subset of a language to accomplish similar things. So just getting that exposure to different people's code will help you expand your knowledge of whatever technology or language you're using. And just naturally, the more code that you look at, the faster you'll get at reading it and understanding it. And a lot of people don't like reviewing other people's code at work because, especially if it's a big code review, it's pretty time consuming. People are pretty busy, so it's taking away time from their own work. But for me, I always like doing it just because, I don't know, I always felt like I learned something from reviewing other people's code. Now, tip number two is gonna be the reverse of that, and that's having other people review your code. People that will hopefully give you constructive criticism. I mean, I've had some pretty harsh reviewers. Some of them like started critiquing my comments. But as long as the feedback is well-mannered, having an experienced coder tell you how you can improve is one of the best ways to improve. You don't really know if you're doing something wrong or inefficient in your own code, so having that second or third pair of eyes can be really beneficial. The third thing is to do side projects. Now, I might actually make a video on different side projects that you can do, but just off the top of my head, you could do something like build a web server, build a clone of an existing website, like a Twitter clone. So you can build this for fun, or maybe this is even something like a side hustle then where you're trying to build some kind of product or service. And it's fun because you can work on what you want to work on. Say you've always wanted to work with Node. Well, since you have ownership of the project, you can do it. It's not like a job where you're kind of forced to implement what they want you to do using the tech stack that they want you to use. The fourth thing is going to be to learn multiple languages. Now, I say this only if you're starting out after you've mastered your first language. And no, I'm not saying go learn how to write a for loop or print hello world in 10 different languages, but to be a well-rounded software developer, you should be proficient in more than one language. And preferably languages that differ. Like if you know Java, don't go learn C# because those are kind of the same language. But I would say if you know Java, go learn JavaScript because those are fairly different. And the more languages you learn, the better you're gonna get at picking up new languages, because honestly, a lot of especially the main languages have a lot of overlap. What you could also do is take one of those side projects we talked about and rewrite it in a different language. So say you have a Twitter clone and your backend is written in Node, well then you could just rewrite your backend using something like Java or Python. The next tip we have is to contribute to open source projects. Now, I don't really contribute myself. I know people that do, but how it would work is you would find a project that you like on a site like GitHub. So you could implement a new feature or functionality, or you could go through their list of bugs and write a bug fix. And then to get your code merged back into the code base, you'd create a pull request so that the authors can review your code and decide whether they want to accept it or not. And if your code does get improved, I mean, that's another accolade that you can add to your portfolio. Like say you contributed code to a well-known project, well, that's gonna look pretty good. That leads us to our question of the day, which is, let me know in the comments what has helped you the most to improve your coding skills. All right, so that leads us to number 6, which is to use libraries or existing code whenever possible. Now, I would say this one is more of a tip, but it will improve your code and it'll make your life a lot easier. Because an important aspect to writing good code is knowing about code that's already been written, so you're not reinventing the wheel every time. For example, I've been using C# for years at work, and at first I would just manually write everything. But as I got more exposure to the language, instead of having an array and writing code to sort it, I'll just use the built-in sort function for arrays, or a lot of the built-in functions for doing operations on strings. And you want to use this as much as possible because this is code that's been written by usually like a team of professionals. It's been thoroughly tested, it's been thoroughly used. So you're getting something that's efficient and robust and has already been vetted for bugs. All right, tip number 7 is to code in front of people. And I don't mean literally have someone physically next to you while you're coding. It could be something like a screen share. And this is one of the ones where I had no intention of it helping me, but it's really helped me a lot when I've done live coding interviews. So I used to live stream coding on Twitch, which I don't really do as much anymore, but I would do problems in front of like 15 to 20 people. I would be going, I'd be thinking out loud, I'd be going through my thought process, I'd be interacting with the chat, and I did that enough where I was just very comfortable with it. And shortly after that, I had an on-site interview where I was interviewing in front of like 4 people, sharing my screen coding, and I was like, wow, this feels exactly like it felt like when I was coding live in front of viewers. So I wasn't really that nervous or anything. It allowed me, I was like, I've done this many times before, and it allowed me to just like zone in and focus at the problem on hand instead of I know a lot of people get nervous and freeze up during interviews, but I don't know. I just like that kind of went away after I did a lot of live coding. The next thing that helped me out is to ask for challenging projects. So you need to step out of your comfort zone. I've said it before in other videos that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If I feel like my work is getting redundant, like I'm writing the same code over and over again, or I'm getting complacent with where I'm at that point I'll have that conversation with my manager and be like, get it on his radar that I want to work on something different. And in my experiences, my bosses have been pretty on board. I mean, they want their engineers to keep up with new technologies. They don't want their code base to go obsolete. And I also think that they appreciate that their employees are taking an initiative to want to get better, because it's easy to just keep doing what you're doing, just keep your head down, keep working on the same stuff and just collect paychecks. But in the long run, it is more beneficial to try and keep your skills relevant and up to date. The next thing you can do is to take a programming course. I mean, even established engineers are constantly learning. There are always emerging technologies, and there's also pretty much a tutorial on every subject out there. Obviously, there's YouTube, which is the free solution, but there's also paid ones, which probably have a little bit better quality of courses. So like, I've used Udemy and Pluralsight are the main ones. I can't really say if one is better than the other. Udemy probably has more options, but I mean, either one is fine. So for the 10th way, I couldn't really think of one thing to put on here, so I'm just gonna put a bunch of resources that I've used. The first one is LeetCode, which is for improving data structures and algorithms. Another one is Code Wars, which is, they have a section called Code Katas, which is almost like LeetCode itself. The next one is Top Coder, which is a competitive programming site. Another one is HackerRank. So yeah, just a bunch of different resources that I've used to help me improve. So yeah, I mean, the main thing to take away from this is that it's gonna take a lot of practice. You're probably gonna have to work at this every day. You almost kind of have to be obsessive over it if you really want to get better. Now, if you're working as a software developer, you're going to be coding 8 hours a day, every day. So naturally, you're going to get better. If you are in a developer role and you're not developing, which happens more than you think, then, I would just try and get out of there immediately, switch teams, switch companies if you need to. But really, like if you're not trying to sharpen your skills are going to diminish. All right, those are the 10 tips for getting better at coding. Hey, if you guys got value out of this video, make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Again, if you would like to ask a larger community any questions, feel free to hop in my Discord. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and keep on coding.